In 2008, Elvid Hadic, a BH diaspora member in the Netherlands, founded APS Façade. Soon after, a regional leader in the field of facade design, engineering, and consulting with 7 offices around the world and over 100 projects behind them. Their projects can be found in London, Brighton, Reading, Copenhagen, and many other cities around the world. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, they operate from 3 locations, Sarajevo, Mostar, and Banja Luka, offering opportunities to work on major international projects while also supporting remote work. If you haven't seen their stand at the expo, I encourage you to stop by and admire some of the models they brought in. A modern facade serves many functions. It does not only stand to make our abode beautiful, but it also provides us with protection from the elements, from intruders, and the merciless marching of time. A well-made facade does not only last forever, but also keeps the innards of the building in a better condition for longer. It can provide it with longevity and efficiency that is bound to serve our wallets in the long run. More than a facade, brought to us by a man born, raised, and educated in Sarajevo, he joined the APS team in 2016 as an engineer, a lead BIM engineer, and since then, he has climbed the ladder of success quickly, going from a project manager to technical director, and is now an operations director. He took part in many important global projects, which hints to us that he isn't close to being done yet. This man is Dado Duric. The fireside chat will be moderated by Had Salmanovic, a board member and alumni scholar of the BH Futures Foundation. Haris, Dado, please join us on stage.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. I just have to say I'm a former board member. I would like to be on the board, but I did my part there, tried to volunteer on some other projects. So thank you all. Thank you, Dado, for joining us. And thank you for APS Façade for being such a big part of the event. Before we start talking about the challenges and the trends in the industry, because we have a very diverse crowd of STEM students from different areas here, I think it would be very good to first say more about what a facade actually is. In my research for the panel, I've understood that it's not just putting the concrete on the building and putting the windows there. There's much more that goes into a facade. There's much more that a facade offers, and I think who's better to pitch that and explain that than you, Dado? So could you please tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Haris. First of all, I would like to greet you all. I'm very glad to be here, be part first of all, myself and the APS Façade in this very nice event. I would like also to congrats to the whole Bosnian Future Foundation team, together with Eddie. Really, you did a very, very nice job. I know how these kind of things, actually, these organization, these kind of things can be painful, stressful. So first of all, I would like to give you an applause for that. Yeah, as you said, before we go more into detail on the topic, I would like to try to explain a bit the complexity in the background of a simple, let's say simple facade. On the first look, when you see a nice building, you notice the visual appearance, isn't it? So basically most understanding starts from there. It's only the purpose of the facade is to look nice, which isn't the major priority, of course. Sorry. You need to actually protect the interior area from all outside circumstances. So basically, beside of that visual appearance, we are speaking here about acoustics, about thermal performances, about seismic impacts, for example, about structural requirements. So all these things is not like that if you have a nice building, nice looking building, it doesn't mean that all these requirements are satisfied. For example, at the moment we are working on one project which is called Wembley Link. For the men's, maybe this name of the project is already known because you have the Wembley Stadium of in England, of course. So you can imagine you have a building right to a stadium. So it's not if you live there, it's not for you. Oh, I live next to the stadium and it's looking nice. The first thing would be, oh, I can't sleep. That's one of simple examples. So basically, I would like to point out that facade engineering actually is putting all these requirements together, of course, together with the architect intent of the building appearance, and have a first very nice appearance of the building, but also comfort in the building, and actually at the end to have the happiness of the people that lives in that building. So it's the biggest challenges when we are speaking, for example, with new employees which are not that experienced in the facade engineering. It's like we are dealing with the facades. The reaction is, oh, you're window manufacturer. It's not like that. So it's a mix of a architecture, of a civil structural engineering, and mechanical engineering. In last period, let's say last 10 to 15 years, it becomes also a part of a that you have the more and more electronic things involved, such as solar panels, for example, smart facades, which are moving in order, for example, to have the best possible sunlight during the day. Some of the facade elements are moving according to that. So with having these smart facades, you are involving as well another discipline. So basically, it's a mix of everything, and it can be in the future. It will be even mix of more and more disciplines in it. So yeah, I would say just for the first beginning to clear this out. It's not like only on the visual appearance. It is all these requirements which are actually in regulation with the standards for a specific market.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's why it's a whole engineering field for itself. We had a chance to talk about it and how actually interdisciplinary it all is, and probably becoming. And I think that if you did the facade, we would never get the joke, you know, the Nesmita.
Yeah.
But hopefully the guys living next to Wembley don't have that.
Yeah.
But talking about the interdisciplinarity, again, I have to reflect to the crowd, because the crowd over here is probably someone who hasn't thought of facade as a maybe venture they could go into tomorrow as professionals. Where do you see those opportunities lying? Where do you see innovation somewhere on the horizon? Do you see some projects that are being worked on where other fields could get involved in?
Yeah, like I said, APS is a combination of very good experts from different fields. As I mentioned, architects, mechanical engineers, structural engineers, engineers for electronics, and other things. So basically, what are the opportunities in there is actually because we are now going in a very weird time. You agree with me? And basically, the requirements will be driven by the global situation. That's for sure. And I would say, if we just focus on our market here, we are still kind of in a delay in regards to the Europe. But also definitely one big possibility is having those smart facades on a much higher level. I mentioned these smart facade, moving facade, but also you have a lot in UK, in Europe, you have a lot of different smart systems, which I believe most of the people in Bosnia and in the region have never heard about it. Some simple things. For example, if you have a fire coming in the building, so the intention is to localize the fire and avoid spreading the fire across the building. That's something that the facade only can't do. For example, if you have an open window, someone forgot to close the window, and in the fire, no one will say, "Oh, I need to close the window." But you have intelligent system in the background, such as actuators, which are driven by these modern IT technologies. When the fire alarm is raised, you have several algorithms which can include, okay, closing all the opened windows. Also, very important thing there is in regards to the fire strategy, escape strategy. You can't have everything closed, which would mean that people can't go out, run and escape. So basically, unlocking, making the fire escape actually active, and there that's, for example, one example where we need these smart and intelligent. So I would say the IT as a big growing industry really need to help even with the facade. So a big opportunity, not only for the dimension, but also for engineers from our faculties for electronics as well need to be part of it. So.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. Giving these concrete examples of how other technologies could be involved in creating a better, safer building. Is it safety? What is actually pushing this innovation? Because people probably weren't thinking about those things. We didn't have the technology. Is it technology who's driving innovation? Is it safety or sustainability that we talked about so much during the event? What's pushing innovation there?
Yeah, I would say first of all the humans are the most important thing here. So I would say safety needs to be a first thing that needs to be considered. Why? I will give you a very simple example. I'm not sure if how many of you are aware, but in 2017, in UK, in London, there was a big fire on a building, Grenfell Tower, and it was like in the background you had regulations which have been followed, but the regulations actually wasn't that in that detail developed to cover that safety side. So okay, comfort, nice buildings and everything is something that is really good thing, but when you have victims, then we are speaking on a totally different thing. So in that fire, 72 people died because of bad fire strategy. For the first thing. The second thing was the K15 insulation, which was kind of a combustible, and
So
actually helped for the fire to spread to the I think the fire started on the third floor or fourth floor. I'm not sure that in detail, and it actually spread it over to the last floor, and it was a nightmare. Once that happened, any country on the earth don't have that capacity to help in these situations. If you have the best equipped and specialized firefighters, it quickly turns actually to something that you can't keep in some reasonable boundaries. And so basically, to return to your question, I would say safety. It's not only on the fire. Maybe also one example. If you are on a nice terrace and you want to actually, you are looking from that terrace and you just lay on the balustrade. And if the balustrade isn't according to the requirements, you will fall down. Simple as it is. So basically, safety for the first instance, and then all others in regards. Okay, you have a lot of impacts currently on the supply chain and everything, but I believe we will touch base on that later and during this discussion. So
yeah, it sounds like it's about prevention, right? When it gets to a fire or an earthquake, it's too late to.
Exactly.
You have to be ready for it. And,
exactly.
Yeah, it's a combination of different technologies you use there.
Exactly.
And going to the supply chain side, something I learned. I didn't prepare for the panel, but I actually learned while talking to Dado, is the use of materials that may have been forgotten or people weren't like thinking about them, saying we started with wood and stone, now we're going back to wood and stone in some capacity, but there are some other interesting materials being used because of supply chain, logistics and so on. Can you maybe tell a bit more about that?
Yeah. Basically, the supply chain is actually driven by the available material at the moment. That's what we have experienced last few years, obviously with the Corona thing and the war in Ukraine, is actually that supply chain, even you have the best organization, best lines. It can turn 360 degrees in a second. So basically, from the first beginning, in the history of the facade, mostly it was on the wood and stone, as you said, and now we are kind of turning back to those materials. Of course. In regard to some requirements, structural, actually statics, it's hard to change, actually to replace aluminum, steel, but the things are moving in the way that wherever we can use those materials, why we shouldn't use it. But for someone with some facades where we can't use it, okay, we are sticking to aluminum and steel. But also one important thing in that is also in the future. It's not something that new that is coming. It's well known. Last five years is actually a global trend that. Because of the lack of the material and sustainability and all those kind of things, it's on using materials that can be recycled. In that way, actually, you can use, for example, aluminum can be recycled. And I know many projects where the requirement was actually not the standard of a government or a country, but from the investor is, okay, I want to have a fancy building, but also I want to build it from a complete recycled material. So basically now, in the upcoming years, I believe for simple curtain walls, usually it was like from the aluminum and steel, but also I know, for example, Schuko, for example, Raiko is developing a systems actually which will have the instead of aluminum profiles have wooden profiles. So I would say when you are hit with something, then actually things are changing, and that's exactly what we are facing last let's say 3-4 years. But I believe in the upcoming years, a lot of, also in the past you have composite windows, which are a combination of aluminum outside, for example, and an inside for a wooden frame. So, yeah, I would say lot of buildings will be built from wood. Even the high-rise building, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so like going back to our roots, right? And because we have a few minutes left, I would like to maybe put it in a local context now a bit. You and like, what is the idea and the outlook you or maybe APS Façade have for Bosnia and Herzegovina in the whole story of facade engineering? Where do you see our position? Is it going to be local projects and the advancement of facade here, or do you see Bosnia and Herzegovina being a valid player together with you on the bigger stage?
I will be completely honest. APS is working only on the international market, so not on a Bosnian. We try to have some local project, but it's on the level of understanding is not on that level. So basically, what we are now doing is exactly what I said to you prior to this this discussion. Actually, is that the good thing for Bosnia and for Bosnian facade engineer companies, factories, and etc. Is that working on these international markets, we are kind of preparing our market as well. Once the government and actually the law and the regulations become on that level, like it is on the Europe or USA or whatever, our factories, our companies will be prepared for that step, and the transition for that won't be that painful, I would say. That's a good thing. For now on, the reality is, unfortunately, I would like to have projects here in my town, but it's not the case. But in next 10 years, something. I'm just afraid that I hope that we won't need to wait for Grenfell Tower in Bosnia for things starting to change. So I hope that we will become on a higher level before some big tragedy. So
okay, but at least we will have the know-how in you and APS to do it better and differently. So thank you, Dado, for joining me in this lovely conversation. I think there was a fair few things for people from other fields, and if this wasn't, this didn't emphasize the importance of facade enough. I think you said facade is a 30% of the cost of a building goes onto a facade. Roughly. Yeah. Imagine it's not, the concrete construction, right? Yeah, but the facade is 30% of a construction project. So that's a lot of money to invest
in and do better with.
So thank you, Dado, once again.
Thank you all.